Hey everybody, it's Scott Delaney and I'm here with Peter Blum. Peter is a member of the Core Technology Division on the engineering side, doing some really cool software development work. Peter's been spending a lot of time hanging out with those really cool kids at EMC Code out in Cambridge, and he's been working on a lot of really critical projects going forward and doing some cool things around open source. And wanted to have him come in and talk a little bit about some of the things that he's been doing. Talk specifically about RexRay, a piece of code that we have available that allows VMAX to be able to be supported in a Dockerized or container environment, and just talk about some of the other things that they've got going out there. So welcome, Peter.
Sure.
So what are you working on? What do you
So-
got going on there?
So yeah, we're working on RexRay. RexRay was kind of an initial idea that we wanted to do just to make container management with storage easier. So we tried doing some containers with VMAX and realized that it's really difficult. Going not only VMAX but with all storage arrays, it's really difficult going from.
It's a block problem.
Well, yes,
storage.
it's even even over IP, it's still a problem, and it's just because the main problem there is the number of devices that you're really creating, destroying. It's this whole microservices architecture, right? Having thousands of devices going up and down every 10 minutes. That's a different idea than how we've been the past 10 years.
It's the fact that you've got persistent storage now in the environment versus what had been typically deployed around classic object store types of things. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And going from thousands of devices to now millions of devices in containers, and them being really small and being able to talk to each other very quickly. That's kind of the microservices architecture, and it's really changed a lot. So RexRay is kind of there to help us bridge the gap in VMAX and try to get us there.
And so RexRay, it's an open source piece of code, so it's available on the EMC GitHub site. So users can have access to it. They can go ahead and they can easily download the code, but they can also make contributions to the code as well, right?
Yeah.
What's the level of interest been? I mean, what kind of adoption are we seeing? Or is this something that people are actually going ahead and downloading and beginning to kind of play with and maybe look at further on down the line as a way of being able to deploy actual production applications?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people have started to use this product. As far as VMAX, we have a few customers using it right now, but RexRay as a whole has been wholly adopted. So if you're using OpenStack, if you're using any kind of open source container management, you're probably using RexRay for your EMC equipment. And that, as soon as VMAX kind of gets even deeper into that realm, it's going to be adopted even more for us. So it's really great technology.
So there's interest, which is great, but what problem are we trying to solve, right? Because when I think Docker and containers, I don't normally associate that with a high-end, mission-critical, fully redundant, fault-tolerant kind of industrial strength storage platform. But there seems to certainly be some interest. So what's the problem that the user's trying to solve? I mean, why would they look at VMAX for a containerized environment where they're deploying things as sort of a microservices type of an architecture?
So I think with everything engineering, right, it starts out as kind of a fun 20% of your time project. So containers used to be something that, the guy in the basement was playing around with, right? And they were always there. It was Linux containers. They were always there. And Docker came out and they said, let's make these things actually into something that can be used in a production environment, something that could actually be used in a enterprise environment. And as we move forward, Docker never thought we'll use persistent storage behind a container because they're coming on and offline all the time. But actually now we have a lot of people deploying MySQL through containers. We have a lot of people deploying different databases through containers, and because of that, there's a lot of need for persistent storage. And so that's really where now we're at, is people are saying, oh really, we got to backpedal a little bit and figure out how can we get this persistent storage to work in containers, and that's what RexRay is trying to help.
Yeah, I can tell you a lot of the users that I talk to, a lot of what's coming up a lot are what are the integration points with applications or databases like MySQL. So that certainly is a trend that I think we're seeing across a lot of users. So really cool. So I know there's other things that you're working on, and they're kind of super secret stuff that we kind of can't really get into deep detail around. Maybe we'll have you back in and we'll talk about that. But just what are some of the other things? So you've got RexRay out there, seems to be very, very successful in terms of the adoption and the interest. You're a real smart guy. You love coding. You're doing all kinds of crazy sort of forward-thinking sort of stuff. What's next? What do you got? What do you got cooking?
So the special thing about Rex-Ray was it, and specifically with Vmax, was it could work with VMs. So it works all the way from your bare metal through your VMs to the container. And so a real specific interest there was with Cloud Foundry. Cloud Foundry is the same idea, right? It spins up VMs, and inside of those VMs it turns on containers. And Cloud Foundry being a pivotal open source project, EMC is involved with Pivotal. So we wanted to go and actually put Vmax below it as storage, Pivotal Cloud Foundry on top, drop the box into somebody's data center and say, hey, you've got a DevOps environment in this box. Don't have to worry about setting up anything. And it's going to provide great integration, easy, simplistic. It's really, really forward-looking.
So rather than the app developers having to spend the time to kind of assemble the pieces and kind of test everything, we're looking at basically a pre-packaged, pre-configured, turnkey type of a solution.
Yep.
So we can just drop it and they can just start code development.
There's no more packages. There's no more release dates. As soon as you do a bug fix, you supply in the code, it gets compiled, tested, and sent out on your servers directly.
Awesome, and that's something that's coming in the not so distant future.
It's already here. Cloud Foundry.
Oh, Cloud Foundry, right? But the
with Vmax,
okay,
and with Docker.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I don't think we're supposed to talk about that, but
No.
it's too late now. So okay, all right, cool. Well, thanks for coming, Peter.
Yeah.
Good luck with everything. Keep up the fantastic work and totally rock on.
Yeah.
#rock on.